Welcome to a new series where I show you how I transformed this ordinary footage of a street in Berlin, Germany into a futuristic cyberpunk scene. We'll walk through the entire process step by step, from analyzing the original plate and generating the sci-fi environment using comfyui to compositing and delivery to final color grading. As with all of my projects, the goal is to demonstrate how we can use AI in professional cinematic pipelines to achieve industry standard quality, all while maintaining total data privacy by running the entire pipeline locally on my own machine. Let's jump right into it.
No data centers have been used in the making of this video.
Okay, so back into Nuke, as you can see, I set the project setting to 330 frames and 24 FPS. So we compensate for that mistake that I did before. Here I read the original footage and what we got from comfyui. I already matched them. But what you get is more like that, you see? So you need to fix the aspect ratio here. And this is what I did here, just like reformatting and adjusting the aspect ratio and squeezing it a little bit. So the first thing that I did here is to grade it. Here I just do a little bit of chroma key because I found there is some kind of weird red, you know, like look at those reds here. They look very artificial to me. Here, for example, you see I get those kind of really weird reds that I don't like. So I just want to saturate them down a little bit. So this is what I did here. And also if you look at the shot, for example, let's take this frame and frame 100 and compare them. You will see that the first shot is much less saturated than frame 100. So there are some kind of ups and downs in the saturations as we go. So this is what I did here. I just animated this saturation bar. Okay, going down from here, I have this node tree to fix the little drone here. The police drone really looks like an AI. So I invested a little bit of time in fixing it. And while I was here, I also decided to change the symbol here to make it look like a real police symbol. So I got the Berlin police symbol here and I cut it and I did some grading and black match, and here I also did a little animation so you can see change color, like the police color, red and blue. So this is here. Of course I tracked it and match moved it. So now we have the symbol of the police behind on the drone. But as you can see, even when I zoom in, you can see all those hard lines and the texture is really AI looking. So what I did here is like adding blur and adding the rain because the scene is rainy. As you can see, there are some rain, but the rain is not appearing here. And I find that a lot of time that when we detect something as AI looking, it's because it's lacking some texture. It's look a little bit clean and plasticky. So I find that if I add the rain on top of it, if I put a little bit of grain and blur, it's already giving me a better result. So this is what I did here, and this is the final one. If I play a few frames, you can see there is like more rain in front of it. Now I'm not saying that I did a very good job here, like of course I should have compensated for the red light on the symbol, but I didn't do it. And this is also something I want to address. I'm not going to deliver this project. I'm doing quite a rough job here as a compositor because I have very limited time to work on it. And I'm skipping a lot of parts like the red lights, and later you will see again. And this is also why I'm using Nuke non-commercial, because it's not a commercial project. It's only for educational purposes. I'm only like sketching something here. So we could learn together while doing what we are doing. So please forgive me that it's not the perfect composite ever, okay? All right, so one thing that is a little bit annoying working with AI footage is that you cannot do a camera tracker on it. I tried a few times. I spent, I don't know, maybe like 2 hours just trying to solve the camera tracker, and it didn't work, and it was a total waste of time. Like, I wish I could just do one track and then start placing 3D cards, you know, like we usually do in compositing. But no, I had to track every little thing separately. So you will see I track this sign separately, and that one, and the traffic light, and other objects in the scene. I guess when you work with AI, you assume that there is going to be less cleanup preparation, but actually sometimes there is more than what you expect. Okay, so the next one is removing the rogue drone. And what is this? Is like, if I play it from here, there is, you see this drone here? It's coming from the background. It's coming from like behind the traffic light. And then it flies and then it disappears behind that drone. And then disappears. So this is also very obvious that I made it with AI, because if you were doing it in 3D, you will continue the animation. This problem will not occur. So I just decided to delete it. And here we are. I go back and you see it's gone. And this is just a frame hold and masking. It's a very simple composite. The next one is a traffic light. And this is also a rough sketch of a composite. So please forgive me. But if we look at the end here, you will see this traffic light that the AI constructed behind the actress. I start going back in frames. And you will see this like orange light here, but the traffic light is green. Also, the shape of the traffic light is really messed up. The original footage is like that. You see there is an orange light here that is blinking on and off. So you see it's turning off and then it's turning on again. I just replaced this green one with the orange one. Now it's turned off. And of course it looks awful on the drone, but it's just a sketch. Most importantly is that when she's in front of it, it's orange, and also her head is orange. Now please pay attention that I don't care about the actress now, because the last step that I'm going to do is actually to use the original actress from the original shot and to put it on top of everything. So there are going to be a lot of things that are going to be on top of her right now in the composite. I don't care about it right now. Okay, so that was fixing the traffic light, and here I fixing the Coty sign. The Coty sign is here. You see this sign is really disgusting, right? It's really obvious this is just a gibberish AI text. So I decided I really need to fix this, so I just wrote my own text here, and I tracked it and replaced it and like defocus it when it goes out of focus here. See? So that's a very simple one. This one here. You see, this is also a messed up text, and I just replaced it with the original one, and of course I tracked it and graded it. There is another sign here that is looking awful, so replace that with the original one. Look at the traffic light here. This is supposed to be an arrow pointing upward, but now it's looked like a cross. So I just replace it with the original. The red traffic light, this one also, it looks not good, so I replaced it with the original. Yeah, this is, in my opinion, the worst traffic light, because it's really obvious. It's really in front of the frame, and you cannot ignore it. And it really sells the illusion, and you know, okay, this is AI because it looks so bad, like this texture here and here. And also Berlin has very special pedestrian traffic light with a little figure that is walking in like a profile view. And the AI tried to do something similar to it here, but it failed. And more obviously, it fails at the end. If we go a few frames here, you see this is really messed up. You really don't have the shape of the unique Berlin traffic light. So if I want the audience that is Berliner or know a thing or two about Berlin and traffic light, I want them to recognize this little figure. So it was very important for me to change this one. So here it is, that's the original one. So I can show you this is before and after. In another frame, I defocused it. And as you can see, it goes over the actress, but we don't care about it now because we're going to put her back in later. Okay, the next one is filling the armholes. And this is another error that we got from the AI. Look, for example, at this frame. You see here, the hole that's supposed to show what's behind her is a total mess. I don't know what's happening here, but we cannot use it. Also at the beginning, we have a lot of frames like that. Here you see, it's turning black. See, just like it's not showing what's really behind her. So I had to fix it like that. Yeah, and look at this frame that we looked before. This really dark mess behind her is now the real background behind her. The next one would be to add the actress back to the scene. And here she is back. I also added rain on top of her because she didn't have rain in the original footage, and we didn't shoot it in a rainy day. And I also did like black matching here because when the actress starts the shot, she's back and there is more atmosphere and rain between us and her. So her black levels are a little bit more lifted. So it was important for me to start it from a little bit more milky blacks, and as she goes into the camera and getting in front of us, there is like less atmosphere between her and the lens. So the black level are getting a little bit more black. And at the very end, I actually rendered a high resolution depth map, especially for this one, because one issue that I have with the footage, and let's look at the last frame, is that the bokeh here is terrible. It looks like an interlace or scanline. It looks really, really messy. And it looks like a very cheap AI. So I did another ZD focus with the depth map here, just to get rid of all of that and add a little bit more blurriness to the whole thing. I reformatted to 720 because we are actually working here in full HD. But because we are going to up-res it in the next stage, we don't really need the HD right now. I think it would be better to squeeze it down to 720 and then let the AI to upscale it, and hopefully it will fix all the rough edges that I was doing because I was a lazy compositor. Okay, so let's look at the final result. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with it. One last thing that I was thinking about is that the neon sign to the left of her, the pink one that says Côte Boussertour here, has a typo. It's supposed to be double S and not S-E-R. I could have fixed it. It wouldn't be such a huge thing to do, but I'm doing it on a weekend, on my free time, and actually, it's quite a lot. Like, look at the entire node graph here. So this took me like a few hours to do, and I kind of tired, and nobody's paying me to do that. So let's just continue with it as is, okay?
The next day.
Okay, so we are finally start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm very excited. I tested a few upscalers, so let me show you what I did. Over here in comfyui, I tested the Real-ESRGAN. I also tested Clear Reality. The model is here, 4x Clear Reality V1. So as you can see, it's a very easy and straightforward workflow. Nothing special here. And I also tried another workflow by the YouTuber McMumpets. And this is a more complicated one. We can also look at the result later. As you can see, I changed a little bit the workflow. I organized things because I like to see what I'm doing in the workflow. And also some things didn't work and I had to fix a few things. So let's jump again to the first workflow and look at the Real-ESRGAN. I'm not happy with it whatsoever, but so this is the kind of upscaler that you would expect to have like a few years ago. But in my opinion, this is not really up for the standards that we are looking for. Okay, so here is the Clear Reality one. Let's look at the result. Okay, this looks much, much better. So this is a promising one. Now let's look at the McMumpets one. Now ignore the weird dissolve thingy. I fixed it later. Just ignore it for now. Okay, it looks promising, but it has issues. All right, so here in DaVinci Resolve, I put everything one next to each other. So we have the original footage on the left at 720p. We have the McMumpets one. We have the Real-ESRGAN and the Clear Reality. Okay, so when I play it, I really like the 720. I like the softness of it somehow. Maybe I got used to it. It looks more real than all of them, to be honest with you. So the first one for me that is a big no-no, it's the Real-ESRGAN. It just looks so plasticky, it looks so AI, it destroyed all the textures. It basically looks like an AI video from a few years ago. This is really not cinematic. I wouldn't even want to see this on like Instagram or something. This is, for me, it's really unacceptable quality. The next one is the Mick Mumpets one, okay, which has some issue. As you can see, it stops in the middle, but ignore this for now. Look at the smoke here. It added noise, and the noise kind of moving together with the cloud. It's really strange. In my opinion, this is also not usable. I want to go with you a little bit more in depth into the Mick Mumpets approach, because I know it's a popular video on YouTube and many people are using it, so it's important for us to understand what it is and where it fails, and maybe where it can also shine in other cases. Okay, let's stop here for a second and let's zoom on the sign here. This is unacceptable. As you can see, this is in focus, this area, and this area is not in focus, besides the fact that the text is completely messed up. And you can see the same issue on the other side of the image over here. If I scroll a little bit more to the end, here you can see like this area of the shot is in focus, or tried to fix the focus, and here is out of focus like in the original image. Also here, it tried to refocus this area here, and it looks really, really bad. Okay, so let's analyze this workflow and see what's going on here. What Mick Mumpets and his team did is making a workflow that is actually very, very clever, but it fails in a complicated shot like we have. So what this workflow is doing is separating the image into little parts, like 1, 2, 3, 4, like tiling it up. And each tile, it does like an upres. And they do that in order to use heavy models and to do very fancy upscaling. Also, he added the separation over time, like we did before in another workflow where you have chunks and then you dissolve between them. As you can see, it didn't work, it failed, but I found a workaround it. Anyway, it's not relevant because we are not going to use this workflow. But the approach of dividing the frames into different squares and then stitch them together is failing in a complicated shot like that, because it's a long shot and there is a lot happening in the background, and it's also getting out of focus, and there is a lot of light shifts. She goes in front of the traffic light, for example, and there are a lot of writing that we worked really hard to make look good. Let's say this corner of the frame is being worked on and it's being upscaled using like a certain prompt or guidance from the user, and then this frame in front of me, for example my face, is being analyzed with the same parameters. Here in the corner, what is this smoosh, you know? You see the poster behind me and maybe the t-shirt of the Cinema of Disobedience, and then you see my face. So it's kind of trying to upscale completely different images with the same parameters and the same prompt. So this is where you saw before parts of the frame are tried to be refocused and other parts of the frame kind of kept out of focus. For a long shot that is very busy like what we have, this is not a good approach whatsoever. I would never recommend that. Where I think this workflow can work, and I need to test it more, is in a close-up situation where when you start divide the frames into little parts, those parts are not very different than one another. You can still kind of imagine, okay, if I'm looking at the corner, so what the rest of the image will look like. Okay, so unfortunately, Mick Mumpets' workflow is not going to work for us, even though I must say that he and his team did a very good job at making this workflow. Okay, so now let's have a closer look on the Clear Reality one. So comparing with the 720p, it looks promising, but there are still issues. So let's look at it in full frame. So the first frame, already we can see the issues. The sign here is really bad. It's supposed to be out of focus, but it looks like he tried to focus it. Same goes for this sign. The character looks very plasticky. Same as the bike. And this sign here is also bad. Like, the entire image is not working, but let's play it. Look, the sign here doesn't look so bad, right? The sign here also looking all right. It's almost like now at the middle of the shot, you understand that the background's supposed to be out of focus. But look, the drone is very plasticky again. Sharp edges, very similar to the Real-ESRGAN that we had before. And at the end of the frame, things look a little bit better on the background, but her face looks like a doll, like a porcelain doll, you know? It has no textures in it, so look, my conclusion is that even clear reality that looked promising does not pass the quality control check that I'm doing. This is maybe good if I'm doing something small for YouTube or social media. This is completely unaccepted quality for the big screen. This is something that for me it's a deal breaker. As a director, producer, or post-production supervisor, if I were to see something like that, no. So this is really frustrating, right? Because I tried a few approaches, and the Mick Mumpitz one that looked promising, and you see that they put so much work into the workflow, fails completely. And it also took a few hours to render that workflow. So what are we supposed to do now? And then I remembered, hasn't Blackmagic released like their own AI Upscaler in DaVinci Resolve? Let's test that one, and look, this is really surprising. So over here, I have the 720 next to the DaVinci Resolve Upscaler with the 4x NVIDIA RTX video. So this is already rendered and imported again to DaVinci, so I will not need to re-render it. But just to show you what I mean, is that over here on the Inspector tab, there is this AI Upscaler. And here you have a few options. And the last one is the 4x NVIDIA RTX video. And here I just put the Ultra one. So from my understanding, that's supposed to be the best option. Okay, so let's play it on a full screen and see. Okay, the first frame looks good to me when I compare them. So let's zoom on the drone. And it actually looks really nice. It looks almost like it added a little bit of noise, right? See, here it's a little bit more noisy. This is the upscaled version. And this is the 720 we got from Nuke. Also here, it looks a little bit noisy, but this is the kind of noise that I like, because I much prefer to get this noise that looks like some kind of lens distortion or atmospheric distortion over very sharp edges that look super artificial, plasticky AI stuff. So my thinking is that if I later going to do color grading and film grain on top of this, it will blend very well together. So I'm very excited about this option. Okay, if this upscaler is working, if I do the 4x upscaler from 720 to 4K, let's try to do 180 to 4K, the 2x upscaler, because I can also render the 1020p from Nuke. So here we have the same shot. This is the 180 out of Nuke, and this is the 2x upscaler. And this got me even more excited because it still has this kind of noisy thing happening, but it's less, it's more defined. It has like more resolution into the noise that it's giving to the image. Yeah, you see her skin, the shirt, it added some more noise here, which I like. Again, I like this noise. It looks like a camera noise here. That's a good one to compare. So this is the 180 from Nuke, and this is the upscaled ×2, and it's exaggerated the color noise that we have here a little bit smeared. So if we go back to the full size, this is so tiny in the frame, but this is exactly the kind of details that I really want, you know, because I want to upscale the image, but I don't want to generate new frames based on like a reference frame. I want to do an upscale filtering like we do in the regular transform that you can choose which filter you have, but one that is actually generating pixels that are smart. You know, not just average in between them and do some kind of blurry upscale. Something that is content aware, something that understands how cameras work, which Blackmagic know how cameras work, how color spaces work, and how image is supposed to be like in the cinema. Because DaVinci Resolve is a semi-professional software, and you can see that the team that developed those tools really understand what filmmakers need. So let's now look at the upscaled version from DaVinci Resolve in full scale and analyze it. Looks good, the signs look good, there are no weird things happening with the focus. It looks 4K, I'm looking at it at a 4K monitors with calibrated colors, and for me it works. Like the bike here looks good, the rain looks good also on her face looks good, which is the most important part, the drone looks good, everything looks good. Okay, so the easiest solution is just to use the built-in DaVinci Resolve AI Upscaler. What a surprise, and such a welcomed one. You know, I'm so happy to find that this is the one that works best, because it's really the less resource intensive and it's built into the software. So this will save me so much time in the future. So the next stage will be to finalize it, to do color grading like in real production. Okay, we finished the VFX, we send it to the color grading. But before we continue, let me wear my director's hat and look at the shot again, because there is still a big thing that bothers me quite a lot.